she has to prove herself in business. If she fails once, believe me, ladies and gentlemen, she is forbidden to take the risk again. Not only by financial institutes, but by her own family. So she has only that one time to prove her credibility. And it's that one time that we need to actually support her need in business, to be empowered financially, and the benefits go down even to her employees, her family. Like Mr. Lal just pointed out, that women are more employers and women employ more women. So if you think of empowering a woman or a woman-owned enterprise, your outreach is much, much more. But then look at this. Her exposure to business practices, technology, access to finance and markets is absolutely, absolutely limited. You know, let's not go by women like me or Elizabeth, or, you know, we have this very smart woman from Jamaica for coffee and so many other people. Obviously, we are the business leaders who are here. Let us look in perspective for the women who are out there, who need that support, who need to be empowered. We are talking on behalf of those women. Our voice has to reach the policy makers, the funding agencies, the NGOs and the government to make this impact that why women should be empowered. You see, as we said, more than anything, her exposure to everything is very, very limited. Therefore, to give her a platform to prove her products and services is of utmost importance. Now, you know what? People call me successful, but at what cost? Believe me, it's the cost of time. The need to share my entrepreneurial experience stems from the fact that I have taken 31 long years to reach where I am. I truly feel it has been too long. The atmosphere has been very hostile for my enterprise or my business to grow. The fact that I have enjoyed and relished each moment of my failures and success is something that is close to my heart. However, if my personal experience can be a learning experience for others, I'm here to share it. And that's the reason I take you through a brief of what I have been doing in these 31 years. When I started my assets were my 1-year-old son and $10. That's all that I had. However, the will to succeed or to form was there. When my business model was there, resistance from banks, suppliers and markets was there. But it was bound to be, because I did not know what a loan meant. When my husband said, apply for a loan, I said, you're mad. My father was an army officer. He said, never borrow money from anyone. How am I going to repay it? That was my knowledge. I did not know the A of accounts, B of business, or C of cash flow. No, it was a learning experience. So I really don't blame the banks, but yes, at that time, to get a working capital of $300, a term loan of $500, I mortgaged my husband's property of $30,000. Okay? So that was the kind of atmosphere that I started with. But the challenge was there that people were questioning me all the time. So therefore, I had to prove myself. I proved myself and successfully established the industry, Bromide Chemical Industries, for manufacturing chemicals for offset printing, press room, pre-press, industrial radiography, medical radiography. And it mushroomed. My hard work was rewarded. God was kind. And 14 years down the line when we are settled. But at that moment, I took in a partner because I needed financial support and support otherwise. My business partner and me worked together for 14 years. And at the end of the 14 years, I realized that the male ego grew so big, that I was driven out of my own business. It's a fact. It's a fact. He did not appreciate the fact that I was more successful than him. Believe me, there was no money. There was not a hassle. We are friends today also. My business runs still after 31 years. It's only that my husband and my partner take care of that part of the business. Okay? So after 14 years, I have no choice but to leave that business. I leave that business. I'm not allowed to take a penny of my capital, not a single employee, and I'm not allowed to deal with any people with that business. So what do? I set up another brand new unit called Halide Chemicals. Now, Halide Chemicals is a unit where I started to manufacture color photo processing chemicals. Color photo processing chemicals meant I took the corporates head on. Kodak, Konica, Agfa, here I come. I'm selling color chemicals. Who am I? I'm Halide Chemicals. But I succeeded. I succeeded and made my mark. We did a lot. We took our distributors for foreign trips in those days, and it was great going until the bubble burst. See, here we are until the arrival of the digital cameras. And when the digital cameras arrived, we all wanted to look at pictures on our laptops, on our desktops, and not make any prints. So therefore, what happens is that the bubble burst, the business went down, and I was absolutely out of business, had to almost shut. 8 long years, I chose to fight rather than close down, kept a core team, and diversified. I diversified into green cleaning chemicals. My son of 1-year-old was a chemical engineer, and he joined me, and I'm happy to say that 31 years down the line, we are in the process of building a brand new factory because our existing infrastructure does not allow us to manufacture more, and the demand is there. So we have arrived, but I have also experienced the challenges of selling to MNCs and government agencies, which is very, very important. I would like to list a few points and read them out for time briefing. MNCs underestimate the capabilities of a small enterprise, especially those owned by women. Brand resistance is a strong hurdle. Decision makers fail to familiarize their team down below of the advantages of diverse suppliers. Women vendors find it very difficult to build healthy relationships with clients beyond working hours. Women business owners lack the capability and also have few opportunities to network with MNCs and government agencies. Women find it very difficult to indulge in corrupt business practices and tend to lose government business and tenders. Products manufactured by women entrepreneurs give MNCs the wrong impression of being very cheap, even if the above hurdles are overcome. But for the supplier change to be implemented is a challenge in itself. However, today I'm truly grateful to Elizabeth, Virginia, Meg Jones, ITC and WeConnect for actually launching a very meaningful chapter, the WeConnect. WeConnect chapter works for preferential procurement policy of MNCs and facilitates business between MNCs and women-owned enterprises. If the will to procure from women entrepreneurs is there, MNCs must have the team below ensure its implementation. The MNCs have to build capacities of women-owned enterprises to have more trained staff, facilitate the networking of women entrepreneurs with them on various platforms. In fact, I would also advocate the idea that corporates should sponsor memberships of women-owned enterprises on apex industrial bodies. For India, we have CII, FICCI, so many, where women can meet their counterparts. Strengthen and support Women Entrepreneur Association. Lastly, give them a chance to perform and be vendors to you. So therefore, ladies and gentlemen, as I conclude a business meeting, I always want to have what are the lessons learned or what are we concluding at. I feel it is imperative to understand that supporting women-owned enterprises or providing linkages and opportunities to women to be vendors to large MNCs and government agencies ensures that the per capita spending power is also increasing, which in turn generates more demand for more products and more trade and business for all, which in the end results in powering trade. Thank you for listening to me.